The views expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sun Prairie Media Center staff, its video service providers, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello everyone. Welcome into Marc Madness Sports here on this Tuesday afternoon. I'm Mark Karstens, the host of Marc Madness Sports, joined today by Sun Prairie West senior football player Ean Ackley, and then his football coach over at Sun Prairie West Wolves, Josh O'Connor. How are you two today? And I'm excited, Ian, to talk to you about your scholarship commitment to the University of Minnesota Duluth, which I think is kind of a big topic point we'll discuss today.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. So, do you want to get right started with the commitment?
Yeah, let's get right into the commitment. Sounds good. Well, first off, congratulations on your commitment to play Division II football at the University of Minnesota Duluth, where you'll be playing linebacker primarily. Is there anywhere else you'll be playing, kind of, do you think, besides linebacker at Duluth? And then maybe just talk about Duluth as a football program. Maybe have you gotten to meet some of the players, coaching staff there?
Yeah, so the Duluth as a football program has been a solid program. They've won 8+ games, or 8 or more games the past 16 seasons. So their program is definitely a great program at the Division II level. I'm super excited about Duluth just as a whole because they're a winning program. Their defense fits right into the kind of scheme that we run at Sun Prairie West, and the coaches there really seem like they care about their players. So those are the huge things. And the city of Duluth is a super pretty city right on Lake Superior and has lots of outdoorsy things to do around campus. So,
well, yeah, no, thank you for sharing, Ian. And like I say, again, congratulations on that accomplishment, because they don't just hand out Division II football scholarships to kids to play college football. So it's a great accomplishment. So congratulations. What kind of made you choose Duluth, I guess, over maybe some other colleges that you maybe looked at in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and other places in the Midwest?
That's a good question. So right after my junior season, I got a text on Twitter asking if I could meet with Coach Stager, my linebacker coach from Duluth. He was the first coach to ever reach out to me. So he met at the school. We sat in this room for close to 30 minutes just talking, getting to know each other. And his primary thing was building a relationship, and it's a long process. So building a relationship and getting to know each other. And my 3 things for getting recruited was I want the coaches to care about you. I want it to feel like a family. I want there to be other things to do in the city besides just football. And I want it to be a good football program. And Duluth had all 3 of those things to offer. So those 3 things are what attracted me to Duluth.
No, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Kind of anything else maybe you want to share about Duluth, maybe academically and just as a school as a whole?
Yeah, so I love just health, and I'm going to study exercise science. So they had my major, which was huge, and I think that will lead me into the path that I'm going to be interested in going. So,
yeah, no, thank you for sharing. And now I kind of want to go into your senior year at Sun Prairie West and kind of what you did individually performing on the football field. You had 123 total tackles, led the team, 20 tackles for loss. Maybe Coach O'Connor, I can even share how impressive are those stats that Ian provided, and how pivotal was he to your defense kind of for 2023 season?
Yeah, I mean, statistically speaking, and obviously we can talk about how he was impactful on the offensive side of the ball too, but defensively he was a statistical leader in total tackles, tackles for loss, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. Not in interceptions, but did have a pretty important one in the Beaver Dam game. So, but I think that's just a sign of how active he was on the defensive side of the ball, which is made even more impressive considering the fact that he was also playing every snap on offense as well. Where when you typically see a player have numbers like that, that's because they're just playing on the defensive side of the ball. They're able to give all their energy to the defensive side. That was not the case for Ian. And then when you look, statewide, how does that fit? He was probably top 10 in the state when it came down to total tackles. When you look per game, he was probably higher than that even. So all that said, very fitting that he was our first all-state player. with numbers like that and just the impact too. Our defense is a 3-3 stack. He's right in the middle of the defense, which fits him perfectly because he can play sideline and sideline with his speed, his athleticism, and his instincts. But then was also really good at just getting downhill and filling and blitzing and making those tackles for loss, which are impactful plays.
Yeah, Ian, maybe just kind of share on kind of your thoughts on your season. Kind of hearing maybe some of those stats back: 123 total tackles, 20 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 1 return for a touchdown, and then 1 interception.
Yeah. So, well, I'll give a lot of credit to Coach O'Connor and just like the work he's put into the defense. I mean, basically brought a defense. Well, he took a lot from Okonwuk, but basically put his own touch on the defense. And I thought just like from a program that started 2 years ago, I think that from a defensive side of things, that this program is definitely moving in the right direction. They're getting guys in the right places, and I'm just been happy to be a part of something pretty awesome that just got started this past year. So, yeah.
And I want to congratulate you too on your All-State selection at linebacker.
Oh, thank you.
For the state, because that's again another really great accomplishment that you had. So congratulations to you on that. Kind of maybe want to talk about your season as a team as a whole. So you guys went 5-4 in the regular season, and then you played Sussex Hamilton, obviously a phenomenal program there and team in Division I. So you guys moved up to Division I. You guys bumped up to Division I. We're an 8 seed in that game against the 1-seeded Sussex Hamilton.
Yep.
I think it's impressive that you guys even had it be a 49-14 game. It's just Sussex Hamilton is just so good. They're just such a strong program. I think you guys can maybe look at it and say that's a success that you scored a couple times against Sussex Hamilton.
For sure.
That it wasn't more lopsided, because with them, I mean, they creamed a lot of teams. Let's just be honest. Sussex Hamilton was just a really strong program.
I think me and Coach O'Connor would both admit that's one of the best offenses we've ever seen. I mean, he was talking about how I have to play, or I play both sides of the ball, and I'm telling you, when I went from offense to defense, and that offense, like Sussex Hamilton's offense moved like it was insane. Like they'd snap the ball, play would be 10 seconds, and they'd be on the line again. So like, props to them for how they moved the ball on offense. But it was definitely an offense I've never seen before. So.
And actually one of the highest rated teams in the state. I think for a while they were ranked number 1 in the state, if I remember correctly, in Division I, a higher division higher than what you guys played. So that just gives you an idea of how strong that Sussex Hamilton team was.
Something cool about that, though, the head coach from Sussex Hamilton is going to be the offensive coordinator for our All-Star game this summer that I'm playing on. So hopefully we'll be able to carry that offense into the All-Star game this summer. So that'll be cool.
No, that sounds good, Ian. You got something to look forward to there. But you guys went 5-5, and like I say, I definitely think you guys had a quality season again. I think you guys were 5-5 the first year, so it's
same exact record.
Exact same record, 500. But where do you think maybe your team grew? Maybe Coach O'Connor or Ian, either of you can share just kind of where your team, even though maybe the record says the same thing, where you guys grew as a program in year 2.
Yeah, I think for sure if you were a part of both seasons, so Ian can attest to this, year 2 was much better in terms of the process, in terms of our preparation, knowing what the expectations were from coaches to coaches, coaches to players, players to player. So I think like the process of the season went a lot better in year 2. Obviously the results stayed the same, right? 5-5. I think we faltered a little bit towards the end. We lost against DeForest in a game where if you take 3 plays and change them around, we're winning that game. And then a game against Oregon, which you can talk about the elements, you can talk about all the weather that was happening that night, but ultimately we didn't execute the way we needed to. And that was a hungry team too, Oregon. It was their senior night. They weren't playing in the playoffs. That was their last chance to, I think at that point they maybe had 1 win in non-conference, but that was their only chance to get a conference win. So I think we faltered towards the end. We started strong. From my end, the best thing was from year 1, off season, we identified issues, and then we fixed those issues, right? And I tell people all the time, I'm not doing my job as a coach if we're not solving the issues that we're presented with. So we fixed some issues. Obviously, we didn't fix them all. We're not a perfect program. So moving into year 3, we're having the same type of conversations, just about different issues. And I feel bad for Ian because he's going to leave and it's going to be a better program next year, right? Like, I feel bad for the seniors that only had 1 year with us because that's going to be the worst year of our program, right? If I'm doing my job, we're just consistently going to take steps forward. So while, yes, I felt good about year 2, I'm looking forward to year 3 just because, especially at this point in the off season, we do a lot of work in the winter because a lot of us are spring coaches. So we've kind of had our big discussions, made some changes, and now we're starting to push things out to kids so they can at least see things via huddle and all that. And then we hit the ground running when we get to June for year 3. So, and track is hard for me mentally because someone like Ian, right? Like football-wise, Ian's gone, but then I'm still coaching him in track, which is awesome. But it's kind of, track is a interesting time because you're kind of wrapping up some seniors' career in their athletic, but then you're also preparing as well to get ready for that next football season because it's right around the corner.
Right. No, it is.
And from like a player standpoint, I will say just from that first year to this year or to this past season, it was a huge difference. Just coaches were in the right places. Guys were more, I felt like more locked in, I will say, just to the team. Just because, I mean, think about the seniors, their high school splits their senior year. They get thrown into this brand new coaching staff, brand new school. Like, it's hard to really like lock in and give it you know what I mean? So. Yeah. With giving me 2 years at this school and to be able to build the relationships with Coach O'Connor and the coaches, I thought that it was just a lot smoother. So that was a big difference from year 2 to year 1.
Yeah, maybe Ian, touch more on that about, with those players that had Brian Kaminsky for pretty much their whole career coaching, and then that switch to you, Josh O'Connor, and having you as a coach, maybe for what that would be like. What was maybe that like for those kids?
Yeah, it was difficult. I remember this is just moment. It was before the Sun Prairie West game, and it was like me and like Will Davis, kid the grade above me, walk out, and he like almost starts to tear up when he sees his best friends like wearing Cardinal jerseys because like it just didn't hit him yet that like the guys that he had grown up with played football his entire life, he's now like playing against in front of like 2,000 fans. So it was just like a surreal moment for I think the both of us, and it's definitely a hard thing. Like now I wouldn't say actually, like rarely any kids experience something like that. So for us to have to go through that, I think it just shows us how to go through adversity. So I think it's been good for me. So
yeah, no, thank you for sharing, Ian. Either of you can touch on this. How do you feel Brady Rhodes grew as a quarterback in his senior year? Because he obviously definitely grew. I mean, from his junior year to senior year, and then before that, he was a JV quarterback before that point. So just pretty quick rise for what he was able to do.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Brady from, once again, year 1 to year 2, and a lot of people, they look at Brady's junior and senior year and they're like, wow, that guy had a lot of experience. He started 20 varsity games, which is true, but before that, he almost had maybe 1 or 2 football games because he played youth football as a center. And then his freshman year, he played as a quarterback, and that was behind a couple of guys, right? Like freshman and JV year, he was behind a couple of guys. So just his ability to really grow as a leader, I think, was impressive because he was in a role that, first year for sure, he wasn't super comfortable in that quarterback role because he was still learning a lot about it. Second year, he was still learning to be comfortable in that position, but he really got comfortable as a leader. And he did some things in the summer before his senior year where you just knew it was a different Brady in terms of a leader. He took ownership of our offense. He knew exactly what people were supposed to be doing. And that's what you look for ultimately in a quarterback, right? Like you want to have the guy who can make every throw and run the ball when he needs to, scramble and make good decisions. But ultimately you need someone who's going to own the offense. And Brady did a really good job with that from year 1 to year 2. And just from a technical standpoint as a quarterback, he grew a lot from year 1 to year 2. He did some off-season quarterback camps that really paid off for him. We had a new quarterback, new quarterback coach his senior year that had a much better relationship with him. So I think that paid off a lot too.
I'll just go off what Coach O'Connor said. I would just say his leadership growth from that year was huge. Just from him like taking ownership in the offense, and that we actually had a brand new offense his senior year than we did his junior year, so that like we were all still learning it, and I would say he kind of just like took that offense, was like, you're here, and that's exactly what you need from a quarterback. So I would say that was a huge deal to have a guy like step in and be like the true leader on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. And you guys had a really versatile run game. I want to talk about that. And you had a lot of guys that could play that running back position.
Yep.
Keon Kapanen, Isaac Asaba, Daniel Wilson, and then you, Ian.
Yep.
And then Brady Rhodes is kind of like another runner too, because I mean
Yep.
he's an athletic guy and can definitely run as well. So what was it kind of like having 5 players that, you know, at any given play could run the ball?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that because like it didn't feel like that during the season because me, Kean, were both starters on the defense, so most of the time we were tired. Daniel was our big true, like he could burst one out for a good gain. Isaac Saba ran hard, so sometimes it did feel like we were almost short on running backs just because of it is the most tiring position in my opinion. And me and Kean were usually pretty gassed from the other side of the ball, so it was good to even have those 5. But yeah, I would say all different 5 running backs brought like different things to their game. Like Daniel was more of that guy that could bust one open for 100 yards. Me and Isaac were more like, we'll get you 4 or 5 right down the middle, and Kean would just bounce off guys sometimes. He was funny. And then Brady was clutch in moments because he didn't run often, but when he did, they were usually pretty clutch moments. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think offensively from, you know, like Ian said, our first year we had a different offense and then transitioned to a new one our second year. And part of the conversation was year 1, we had kind of a similar thing, right? We had Jay Dane, John Weah, Sammy James. And there's, you know, Ian was not running the ball as much.
Fullback.
He was more of a receiver at that point. Jack Augustine. So when we kind of made this shift to more of, you know, it's a pistol wing tee. You know, the wing tee is really an opportunity to get the ball to all 5 people, regardless of the formation, regardless of the play. So that was part of the reason we wanted to move to that type of offense, was because we always feel like we're going to have multiple guys that we want to get the ball into their hands. That first year when we had Jay Dane, John Weah, Sammy James, we could only have one of them on the field at a time at that running back position, where now we could have 3 running back type of guys on the field, and defenses wouldn't know who you were going to hand the ball off to. So that was kind of one of the reasons for making that shift in our offensive scheme.
Yeah, because I mean it's pretty rare to have 5 players on the team with over 100 rushing yards, and then 40 or more carries too. You know,
wow.
It's pretty rare that you have 5 guys on your roster that had 40 or more carries on the season.
I didn't even realize that everyone had 40. Wow.
Yeah, all 5 had at least 40. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting stat
That's definitely an interesting
reading.
Stat, yeah.
But maybe I actually want to talk on Keon a little bit. Keon Kapanen. I know you played defense with him too.
Yes.
As he played on the defense. Were you impressed with him maybe just defensively and offensively in 2023? Because when I would watch him in games, I was impressed, you know, at games that I went to and saw Keon running, and in particular at running back. It seemed like the games that I went to, he had good days running the ball.
Yeah, I would say from the defensive standpoint, that dude could come down and hit. There was a play in Wanakee, I remember. He was coming down from his safety position, probably like a 10-yard run up right to this running back, just met him right on the line of scrimmage, and just it was a pretty impressive hit. Like, that dude was not afraid of contact. He would fly around. His brother plays safety, so he's always watched him, and I would say Kean is not afraid of contact. And that goes for the offensive side of the ball too. I mean, like I said before, that dude would just run and bounce off bodies. He's not very tall, but he's quick, so he's a true running back.
Yeah, and Keon's a good example of, we felt like after year 1, after Ian's junior year, when we talked to the coaching staff, we felt like there was kids that were underutilized in his class. Keon was one of them. Isaac Asaba was another one who you already brought up. Daniel Wilson was another one. Caden Updike was another one. We felt like there was these kids who we had them their junior year and we didn't give them opportunities. And they did a really good job of staying bought into the program despite not seeing the field much as juniors, worked crazy hard in the offseason, and then reaped the benefits of going through some adversity, not seeing the field, but staying bought in, working hard, got opportunities as seniors and really took advantage of them. Keon was one of them. He started both ways. As Isaac got more comfortable at that kind of third running back position, Isaac took more of the reps there, so Keon could focus a little more on defense. So he was a little fresher there. But yeah, Daniel had a great year for us. Someone who, up until the Oregon game of his junior year, he didn't really touch the ball very much. And Isaac Asaba, another guy who barely saw the field as a junior, but worked hard, took advantage of opportunities, and had a good senior year because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Ean, Josh O'Connor, thank you for sharing. Ean, I want to ask you, what were some of your favorite memories over the 2 years playing at Sun Prairie West for high school, and maybe just a moment, maybe even a moment with a teammate or teammates that really stands out to you?
A favorite moment of mine from the high school career would have been, we were at Beaver Dam. There was probably, I don't know, would you say like a minute left on the clock. They were making a big drive. They were probably on like the 10-yard line. And it was a pass play. I just sit back. I didn't move much, right in my middle linebacker spot, right in the middle of the defense. And the slot receiver just runs a little slant right behind me, and the quarterback just doesn't even see me, throws it right to me, and then that's pretty much the ball game. So that was a pretty awesome moment. And it also was just like a great game to cap off. I think the final score was 14-17, right?
I think it was 14-7.
Or yeah, 14-7.
14-7.
Yeah. So it was a great defensive game by us, and it was just like an awesome cap too. And it was a huge conference win for us. Yep. So that was a pretty awesome moment.
And Beaver Dam's got a talented running back. I'm blanking his name right now, but they got a pretty talented runner over there.
Yeah, they had Gabe Klatt.
And then
he was injured his junior year, so we didn't see him then, and then he was injured his senior year. I think Mendoza,
that's what I'm thinking of. Cameron Mendoza.
He was a beast, yeah.
Yeah, talented kid over there. So you guys must have kept him pretty well in check.
Yeah, he had one. I was pretty angry at myself. He had one touchdown. That's what gave him the 7. That was a kind of a butchered play, honestly.
Yeah, just a bit, And we held them to, they were a big run team, obviously with those good running backs, and I believe, if I remember, we held them under 3 yards per carry, which was pretty impressive. So, yeah, I agree with Ian. I think it was probably one of our better defensive games.
For sure.
And Coach O'Connor, I want to share with you kind of maybe what's a memory you're going to keep with you about Ian, maybe in particular, and
I think that
anything you want to share about Ian as a person, player.
So I think one thing is my daughter is a year and a half and absolutely loves Ian. So probably one of my best memories of Ian will be after every game he would come over, my daughter would be on the field, and he'd pick her up and say, "Hi, Renly, how you doing?" No matter how the game went, right? Whether we won, lost, good loss, bad loss, good win, whatever it was, right? And that's just the kind of guy that Ian is, very high character individual. So I think it's just moments like that, where like he said, he's going to a place, and that was one of his 3 things, right? It's got to be a place where I'm going to feel that family aspect, and I think Ian was a really big part of why we had a family feel around our team for this second year, right? And I think that's one thing, once again, to look at our growth as a program from year 1 to year 2. Year 2, we had much more of a family feel to it, just simply based off of you spend time together, in the off season, lifting, all that stuff. But I think also having really strong leadership from Ian, when your best player on both sides of the ball is your best leader and your best character person, it makes my job a lot easier. So those would be if there's one, that's probably the moment, right? Just kind of after every game with him picking up Renly and saying hi to her, and then just the everyday doing the right thing, doing it with great energy and great enthusiasm.
And another thing I'll say about a moment of this team is he kind of touched on it, but just the group of the senior class, we might not have been the most talented group of athletes, but the relationships and how close we grew throughout that year was amazing. With he touched on the morning workouts, the team building exercises. We came into that second season 10 times more of a family than like I was ever expecting. So I think that's like a contribute to what the coaches did like at the off season, getting us together and just like building a family. So I thought that was a pretty cool moment, or just in general.
Yeah, Coach O'Connor, Ian, thank you for sharing all that. And yeah, family is really important with football. I mean, being like a family. I mean, that's how you're having success. And I definitely like that story, Coach O'Connor, of Ian picking up your daughter and at the end of games. That's really cool. So, Ian, I kind of want to talk to you about your FCA All-Star football game you played this past summer. I know Connor Stoff joined you in that game as well. What was that experience like? So
the All-Star game it's very confusing. It says 23, but it's actually this summer. So the summer after my senior season. But I'm super excited about it. Like I touched on earlier, the offensive coordinator is the head coach from Sussex Hamilton, so that's pretty cool. And then Connor Stoff, he's from Sun Prairie East, and it's going to be kind of cool because he's one of my really close friends, a guy that I didn't get to play varsity football with, but now I'll be able to finish my high school career with a game with one of my really close buddies from the other school. So it's just an awesome opportunity. And it's also an awesome fundraiser for the Children's Hospital that all of us are raising money for. So it's a really good cause. Yeah,
no, thank you for sharing, Ian, and no, thank you for kind of finding out something I didn't really get in my notes, because in my notes it said 2023 for that All-Star game. So thank you for sharing that. It's actually this summer. And yeah, like I said, I saw that Connor Stoff was going to be playing with you in that game, and that was the only person that, like I in the reading that I read, was kind of like a player that I knew the name of. I was like, okay, I know Connor, and any other players.
And it's a All-Star game, but like for example, Alton and Logan from Sun Prairie East would have been all-star players, right? All-state players. But if you're going D1, you're typically not going to be able to play in that because you're going to go off and you're going to be doing your college stuff. So, that's one of the perks of D2, right? You get to kind of wrap up with a really unique experience in the All-Star game that you wouldn't get if you were going D1.
Ian, I want to ask you, any NFL players and or college football players maybe you look up to, admire, maybe compare your game to a little bit?
Well, it was kind of funny. Brady and Casey Wambach were telling me the other day that they kind of I remind them of Luke Kuechly. So he was a middle linebacker for the Carolina Panthers, and just an all-around great leader of their defense. I like to say that the middle linebacker should be the quarterback of your defense. So I thought that was pretty cool. Luke Kuechly was always knowing where the play was going to go and playing sideline to sideline, just how I want to play linebacker at. So he's definitely a guy I look up to. It's a pro.
I like it. Mine for you actually was Clay Matthews. Clay Matthews was kind of my thought when I was thinking about it. But Coach O'Connor, what do you think?
No, I like the Luke Kuechly example there. I think Brian Urlacher is another, a little bit more of a throwback. I really enjoyed watching Kuechly play when I was in high school and college when he was at his prime, and he retired pretty early on. So I think that's a pretty accurate comparison.
You like my Clay Matthews?
I got to grow out the hair a little bit.
Yep, got to grow the hair
out a little bit.
I do like it though.
We'll end with fun question segment. That's what I always like to end with. I'll ask you guys about who you had winning. I think you might have told me who you had winning the college basketball NCAA March Madness tournament this year, and then who your Final Four teams will be.
Okay, so I had Creighton win it all, which I was extremely nervous against their double overtime game versus Oregon. So that was awesome to see them win that. And my Final Four is I picked an underdog. I have NC State, Creighton, UConn, and Arizona. So those are the four.
I like it. Yeah. I like it. Coach O'Connor, how about you?
Yeah, being the football coach, basketball isn't really my forte. I went Baylor for the championship. That one didn't turn out. So obviously Baylor was in the Final Four. I got Illinois in there, Houston, and who's
Purdue?
Yeah, Purdue.
Purdue.
Yep.
All right, man, I'll end this with the final question. Since I kind of have a podcast, favorite song to listen to for both of you? We'll finish it out with that.
Well, recently I've kind of been on the country, so I'll say, what's a good country song? I like Zach Bryan a lot. I would say I think it's Oklahoma Smoke Show is a really good one from Zach Bryan.
It's a good one. Yep, country's my go-to as well. I would say Ain't That Some, I forget who it's by.
I'll have to
That would
listen
be
to
the
it.
one.
All right. No, very good. Well,
How about you?
for me, boy, that's a tough. You're putting me on the spot here. I listen to so much music. I mean, I guess some groups I like is like Eagles, Fleetwood Mac. I like some of the older throwback groups.
Nice.
Yeah, those are a couple of groups I like. But I guess anything else you want to share maybe before I let you go? Or
No, thanks for having us. It was
yeah, you're welcome.
cool to be able to do this.
Well, thank you everyone for listening into Marc Madness Sports this afternoon, evening. I'm Marc Karstens, the host of Marc Madness Sports, joined today by Sun Prairie West senior football player Ean Ackley, and then Sun Prairie West football coach Josh O'Connor. So thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, afternoon. Take care and goodbye everybody.